What's up, guys? How's it going? So we got a couple of things regarding Foundry Battle that's coming up. So one thing that a lot of people don't really understand is, so basically each and every one of the main buildings, whether it be the weapon workshops or the gathering fields or the Imperial Foundry in the middle, right? You're going to hold those, and when you hold them, you're going to get little bullets, right? Those little bullets are the points that your alliance can get. Now, here's the trick, right? So if you recall your troops, those little bullets then become the points that your alliance earns at that point in time. If you, I don't know, lose that, then the opposing team gets those points. So obviously, if you get 60,000 points there, you can very easily turn the upside of the battle by not recalling and pulling the troops out of the base, because, well, that's what ends up happening if the opponent ends up winning on the other side. So, in case you were wondering, that's the kind of the gist behind why they kind of don't want you to really focus too much on defending it. Obviously, if you can hold the Imperial Foundry and defend it, hold it for as long as possible, great. But the moment you lose it to the opposing side, they get all the points. So it's kind of a trade-off that, frankly, if it can be avoided, don't try to hold a ton of points on any one individual building. If you can recall every, say, 500 to 1500 points bullets-wise, that's probably a reasonable amount. If you're struggling to make points, though, outside of that, I mean, really, there are gathering fields that you can go around and hit, and you can get some points there. Obviously, if you're real careful, you don't want to get, basically, you don't want to be on the other side of a whale, basically. If you run head to head with that whale, you're probably going to lose. So obviously, a lot of the points the whales make in this game anyway during Foundry is really just by throwing their troops at a wall and killing everything that it hits. And 90% of the time, it does. I will say the one thing that you don't have to worry about in Foundry is you don't have to worry about your troops being killed, so you don't have to worry about that. But what you do end up having a problem with is, well, okay, let's say your infirmary gets completely filled, right? You're out of troops now. What do I do? What's the best way? Well, you can do this in one of two ways. You can either heal and get your troops sped, healed, and spend accelerations on it. That's possibility one. Possibility two is you actually exit the Foundry Battle and wait, I think it's like 12 to 15 minutes, and then join back in, and then you get all your troops back. And you don't lose your points if you do it that way. So there's not as much of a downside risk to this, but the only downside to that, I guess, is, well, you're not going to be there for a certain set amount of time, And so obviously, depending on what point you are in the Foundry Battle, that could be problematic. So outside of that, as far as the Foundry Battle is concerned, I would say the strategy that a lot of people employ is what they'll do is they'll take over the gathering fields and the weapon workshops, and then they like to go after the... so basically, you go after the buildings that give you the teleporters, and you go after the buildings that give you the bullets. And then if you want, you can hold on to things like the Foundry in the middle, and then it just becomes a tit for tat game of you knocking out your opponent for their bullets to get ahead. And 90% of the time, that's most of the strategy you're going to employ is looking for angles of, oh, they hold on to something for too many bullets. Say, oh, if I knock that out, that's 5,000 points. 5,000 bullets, I knock it out, I get the 5,000. You're looking for angles, you're looking for people that can be easily wiped. That's why you want to get the teleporters, because if you get some free teleports, that's going to give you an advantage. Obviously, if you're a heavy pay to win, you're just going to burn 2,000 gems a pop, or you've already got a stash collection of teleporters, so it's not even an issue. But ultimately, that's kind of the mentality of Foundry. And as for the actual rewards, what do you burn them on? Obviously, when you're starting out in Gen 1, you're going to be given like a set number of options. Gen 2, you're going to give and so on and so on, right? I will tell you that typically a lot of the things I grab are polishing solutions. I like to grab the charm pieces if I can. I like to go between those because, Well, and that, and also the hardened alloys, but not as much. Like these are the only two, or really three items. I guess you could also go for design plans if you had extra, but I like to get the polishing solutions, me personally, because that to me I think is really good value in terms of what you get in the polishing solutions. But ultimately, you just want to grab what makes the most sense to you. I think obviously the speeds and the the training stuff, not so much, and it's not something that requires money. The more monetary things are more like your essence stones, your hero enhancement XP, for your gear. You might look at, maybe a couple of shards here and there. Those are the things of value that a lot of people like to dive into. And so foundries, that's, more or less, you can kind of decide that for yourself. But needless to say, as far as how the two legions are broken out, obviously that's just two different groups of people that, depending on your deployment time, that's going to change who fights where and when and how. So a lot of little things like that, but that's the nitty gritty of Foundry, and hopefully that advice is good enough for you to get through Foundry.